Well, hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's new episode of Breakfast with Boom. I am your host, Mr. Boomstick XL, and we are going to have one hell of a show. Got a couple of really big time guests for today. Two of our panel members are down. Obviously, BitCloud Gaming, he is recovering from obviously COVID, and hopefully we wish him, his mom, and his family well. And Mr. Badbit got knocked on the chin by the shot. Yeah, he got the Pfizer shot yesterday, and he's feeling a little under the weather, which is not surprising because, of course, you are putting the virus into your body for it to, effectively fight it off so you become immune to it. So we'll get Joe back here next Friday for sure. But of course, he'll make his triumphant return on Thursday's Xbox Factor podcast. But let's get into what we're going to talk about. I mean, we have a lot. I mean, there was the Square Enix Presents. Now, we're not going to spend a lot of time on that because, quite frankly, the show, had some, peaks, but it unfortunately had a lot of valleys, especially when they started talking about mobile. That's when I started to hit the snooze button for sure. We also are going to be talking about VR for a hot minute. Obviously we got a chance to see what the controllers for PSVR 2.0 look like. And they took a page right out of the Oculus Quest book, which I'm very excited to say. And then we're going to kind of, roundabout talk whether or not the original story that broke about VR on Xbox thanks to the new headphones, was that a mistake? Was that by accident? Is there VR, and should Xbox invest in VR considering so much of what they're doing with the Xbox Game Pass and everything else in the industry? And then, of course, we're going to talk about the big bomb. The second half of the show is where all of the Xbox fans are probably going to be cheering because the March 26th event has been officially announced by Xbox. They have teamed up with Twitch, and they are doing a show Friday, March 26th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time where 100 indie games are going to be there. Now, when I say indie, don't yawn because some of these games seem to be big AAA bangers with the indie tag attached to them. We're going to get into that. But first, let's get into the introductions. And we're going to start with our guests. First up, you know him as someone that we consider to be possibly foul-mouthed, but not really. He's also an impressionist. He's also one hell of a community member that loves doing community game night. Please welcome the boisterous and very a popular Noof Nukem.
Well, thanks for that awesome intro, Boom, and it's great to be back here on Breakfast with Boom with all you awesome folks and this amazing chat. Yes, I am fired up, ready to go. It is early, but as you can tell, I am ready. It is time to blow the doors off of this pop stand. Let's do it.
Well, thanks for being here, brother. Definitely appreciate that. And of course, we want to say a big shout out to our sheriff, keeping these streets safe each and every podcast. You know him as Lethal Papa, the man that carries a very big stick, a band stick for that matter, and walks silently. So if you're out of line, if you get out of hand, if you start trying to bully this chat, he is going to give you the big FU, and he has my authority to do it. Obviously, with these chats, and what's great is we haven't really had a lot of problems. Now, whether that's because of the way I produce the shows and a combination of Lethal Papa not taking any shit, is the reason why this is considered one of the best chats in gaming, and I really do pride myself in that. And that's a big round of applause to the 100 plus people already here. We're only a few minutes in. Hopefully, we can get this this viewership, up, away. But let's continue next with our guest. Now, this gentleman here is someone that does not shy away from being an Xbox gamer, but he's also a community member that puts out quality content each and every time, and he is one of the biggest Mass Effect fans this side of Texas. Please welcome the elusive gamer, a.k.a. Jamie Moran.
Hey man, happy to be here, and we've had a lot of gaming news recently, and the Square stuff's interesting, and I'm just excited to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean the Square stuff. It's one of the we'll talk again. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. One of the things that we're missing, we'll talk about. One of the things I think are going to be there. it's going to be an interesting conversation. Certainly not the biggest one of the show because really there wasn't a lot there that was groundbreaking. But again, we will get into that momentarily. Next up, you know him as our chainsaw cutting best voice in podcasting community member known as Crispy Bomb. Welcome to the program, dude.
Oh, good morning, everybody. I've been very ashamed of myself for not playing Dishonored, so I shamed myself on Twitter. And I also gave myself the big L. So, yeah, definitely love that dual wielding aspect. And I must have been really deep into Fallout or something when this game kind of hit, because I don't know how I missed it. But yeah, I will take the L at times, and that deserve that. So, but yeah, great to be here. Got some great topics to get into, and let's do it.
Well, listen, thanks so much for being here, dude. And definitely appreciate, listen, sometimes there's just too many games. And Dishonored was a game that fell under the radar for a lot of people. Now that it is an Xbox Game Pass, you not only are getting a 60 FPS version of it, but you're getting the definitive edition, which is actually really good for you. Like, I'm playing through it again. I beat it originally, and I'm playing through the definitive edition because I wanted to experience it at 60 frames per second. And so far, man, it is pretty impressive. That along with Prey, which I started and never finished. I'm going to probably put some more hours into that as well. But listen, you don't have to give yourself an L. Sometimes we just miss games, dude. But next up, you know him as someone that does a very unique thing on his channel called Breaking Bread with Dread. He's also someone that probably has already cracked a beer and eaten some chicken this early in the morning because, hey, why the hell not? Please welcome Dreadpool.
Good morning, everyone. All right. No beer today. I actually called in sick last night. I didn't feel like working. So it's just a soda and a boxed donut that I put in the refrigerator. It's one of those,
okay. So you like your
things.
pastries cold then is what you're saying.
Yeah, most of the times, yeah.
Okay.
So, but it's a chocolate donut, so I like it cold. If it's like a powdered donut, you can leave it on the counter. I'll eat it that way.
Well, you know what? I mean, listen, you like what you like. There's nothing wrong with that. But listen, folks, let's get into the Square Enix presents. And I don't want to sound like I'm like a game show should be what I want it to be. But here's the thing. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this simply because there were some highlights to the show. They opened up with Outriders. Now, again, I got to be honest with you. People have been talking up this game. It is coming into Xbox Game Pass on April 1st, and that is no April Fool's joke. That is a big deal. It is one of the biggest third-party games to come out in 2021. It has a bunch of classes. It looks fantastic. I've dabbled into it. I didn't want to play the unfinished version. And what I mean by that is I know that they've been adding updates almost on a daily basis. What's pretty cool about this demo is, and that's thanks to Kay Asante in the chat. He had made mention of this. I think it was last week that your progress carries over to the main game when it launches, which is dope. There's just no denying that. But for me, I really want to experience the final, product that's probably going to have a massive day one patch. And I really want to experience it from the beginning. So I'm probably going to wind up starting over. I only played about an hour, 15 or so, give or take, maybe even just a little under 2 hours, just to get the taste of it. But that's coming. They showed a fantastic trailer that I mean, you can call it a hype trailer. You can call it whatever you want. One of the other highlights was, and again, because I'm an old school cat, everyone knows that, the Darius Cosmic Revelations side-scrolling 2D slash 3D shooter. I mean, obviously Darius is old school stuff. That is by Taddeo. And that's coming out for the Switch and the PlayStation 4. They showed us some Avengers content. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm playing it now. I can understand why I stopped playing it. I played it a little bit for about an hour this morning after downloading 106 gig patch I mean, like, wow.
That's all.
Yeah, no. I mean, but that's on top of the 60 gigs I already had. So it's like 170 gigs for this one particular game. And I'm going to be honest with you. I love Captain America's my favorite hero. I'm using him now. The game is very uninspiring. I was all against getting it originally because I felt the Spider-Man locked behind PlayStation was ridiculous because he's Spider-Man and this is a multi-plat game. But you know what? At the end of the day, I think Sony took the L on that because no one's going to give a shit that you have Spider-Man in a game that's supposed to have Spider-Man because he's the face of Marvel. I think they get the big L. Though the second half of the conversation, even though Hawkeye looked boring as F, I'm going to be honest with you. His outfit seems as if it was they went through like a Rift store and were like, okay, that matches that. How much? $2.99. Okay, deal. And they threw it on him. That's really what it looks like. It's awful. I mean, it's not even an original costume. It just looks like they pulled somebody off the street, painted his clothes purple and called him Hawkeye. And I'm like, okay, well, that's again uninspiring. But it's the second half of the conversation I want to talk about, and that's Black Panther. I mean, my God, the future plans with the Black Panther looks awesome. He looks awesome. I cannot wait. Obviously, it's going to be taking place in Wakanda, and it's going to be Ulysses Claw is going to be the main villain. That's going to be dope. But if you're interested, there are a lot of people that do like the Avengers. Their plans, their future plans, as they called them, seemed a little too vague, to be honest. You have Operation Hawkeye, which just launched. You have the Tachyon Anomaly coming in the spring, along with the Red Room takeover. Now, obviously, that's going to star Black Widow. That's part of her storyline. I don't know if we're going to get her sister as a character or not. They didn't announce that. Then they talked about Project Omega and Wasteland Protocol for the rest of 2021. And look, folks, here's the thing. If you like the game, you know what? I'm not going to hate on you. I'm going to probably record some footage for the show to run in the background because it is impressively the next gen versions, which is why I had 106 gig update. They look good. They look really good. I'm running it at 60 frames per second. I took the performance mode over the 30 at 4K because after going through Division 2 with 60 frames, now I understand what a faster frame rate's all about. And then the last game here, because there was a lot to forget, like the adventure. I think, what the hell is it called? Something of Adventureland or whatever it was. It's just the Balan Land. It's Wonderland. That's what Balan Wonderland.
Balan Wonderworld.
It did not look good. I'm a platform dude. Like everyone knows. I mean, I just spent $12 on a Gopher platformer that is just something similar to Super Lucky's Tale, and I bought it because I like platformers. And it's not. It's okay. It's good. It's just about good. But this Balan does not look. It looks weird. It looks so weird. The fact that that one of the characters or both characters changed into a lawnmower, and it was somehow running over people. Maybe it's your thing. I know it's coming out in June. I'm gonna skip it for sure. Though we do have to talk about Forspoken. Now, Forspoken is a brand new IP. For me, it was the star of the show. Not only does it look incredible, not only does it look next gen, but it ran fast. It looked gorgeous, and I loved the character. I mean, she really does look like the human counterpart that they mocapped. It's crazy how good it looks. The downside to it, and I guess maybe if you are someone that doesn't support PlayStation, you're going to have to wait 2 years, which that is a locked up exclusive by Sony. They must have really dropped a couple of big bags off to Square Enix because wow. But Noof, I'll start with you. Did you get a chance to watch the Square Enix Presents, and did anything jump off the page for you?
No, I got to see a little bit of it in depth, and kind of the rest of it I kind of just marginally went through. Like you said, it was very underwhelming. There was nothing that really kind of jumped out. Yes, the Forsaken or whatever. Or what do you say? Forbidden, Forsaken.
Forspoken.
Jesus,
Yeah.
I'll never get that one right. Forspoken. I mean, I think it's safe to say a lot of us, when we've seen trailers for that, have felt, a fair sense of excitement. And like I said, if you're a multi-plat owner, you have a PlayStation already, you're kind of like, okay, whatever. Like, if I want the game, I'm going to buy it. If you are exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem, a 2-year exclusivity kind of really kind of sucks. I think I saw the Brinks truck pulling up there next to Sony's door the other day. So, yeah. But I mean, like I said, Battle in Wonderland is an odd, weird thing. Outside of that, actually the one thing that kind of got me the most excited, and this almost is a telltale thing, is the whole Tomb Raider, the Tomb Raider collection. I've got all those games. I love them in pieces. I think it's a franchise that's largely overlooked by a lot of fans. They need to definitely go check it out. I haven't seen enough people play it, or enough people say that they've completed that trilogy. I have, along with the DLC. Now you get the chance to have all of that, in one sweet little package. So, like I said, if you're late to that Tomb Raider train, now's the time to jump on it. All that sort of stuff. Outside of that, like I said, there really wasn't a lot that caught my eye, got me hyped, so to speak. The Black Panther, yes, that DLC looks good, but again, if you're not digging the Avengers game, that kind of takes the sales out of it. Now, if the Avengers game had come out swinging and been all that and more, I'd have been like, yeah, man, like I'm totally down. I do love the Black Panther, and what I saw looked really good, but again, it's still an Avenger. It's still in the Avengers game. It's still that play and grind kind of atmosphere, all that kind of stuff. So that's my downside there. Like, I stopped playing that game ages ago. As a matter of fact, I traded in my copy. I just found it too monotonous. So I think Marvel's, what you call Ultimate Alliance, is more fun to play than that. But
I agree. I agree with you for sure. Again, I'm playing it, and my God, I put it to you this way. Looking at my save, the last time I actually played Avengers was on the 2nd of October last year. I started it up, and I was like, yep, I can see that this is, I'm going to wind up just taking it off the hard drive. I'm literally ready to beat it. Mm-hmm. And I think my character is like level 17, and I put some time into this game, and I'm like, you see, this is why, you get that screen, point of no return. I'm like, point of no return, but shit, right. I feel like I didn't even play this game, and I'm like level 17, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to finish it to say I finished it. What the hell? But
do you guys think? Do you think that Square Enix is really kind of putting the pressure on Crystal Dynamics to make extra content for this game to kind of draw out its longevity, since it seems to, like I said, it came out and it sold well out of the gate, and lots of people were playing it for the first week or two, and then people kind of found out, okay, this game wasn't all that in a bag of chips, and kind of dropped it off. And there are fans out there who die hard by it. I know that. I know we got a few in the community that love the game and played it quite a bit. But do you think they're just trying to, as they say, keep milking this for all it's worth because they spent so much to get this game out? Because that's kind of what it's starting to feel like to me. Like, I hope Square Enix or Crystal Dynamics in particular aren't wrapped up with content for this game for a long time, because I like for those guys at this point, they're too talented to be stuck making things for this game. I'd like to just see them kind of move on. You know what I mean?
That's a great question. You know what? I'm actually going to pose that question to Jamie Moran. Now, Jamie, you got a chance to see some of the trailers. You didn't watch the event, and what? Good for you, because you missed out on 45 minutes of average. Again, there were some highlights, but mostly lowlights. And Noof brings up a great question. One of the biggest misses for me, is when I saw the Tomb Raider stuff. I was like, okay. This is cool for people who missed on it. Now, if you missed out, and I don't know how many people did in the chat. We have 300 people here. Throw 1 in the chat if you missed out, and a 2 if you or you played through the trilogy. That would be interesting to get the take of the chat. I played through all of them. Rise of the Tomb Raider, one of my favorite Xbox One games of the generation. That's right next to The Division 1. Destiny 2, The Taken King, and Titanfall, the original. Those are like my top. If you want graphics that are going to melt your face, just the opening of for Rise of the Tomb Raider is still, it's just incredible. It's just so incredible to look at. You're like, I cannot believe this is what we're playing now when we used to play blocks on the PlayStation 1 way back in the days. And then they said, we have one more thing. And I said, here we go. We're going to get an announcement. And it was nothing. I was devastated. So to answer Noof's question, yes, Noof, I agree. I think they are hanging on to this loose tooth that's known as the Avengers. They took a $68 million wash in that game. So they're trying to make keep the player base alive, which I think the other day had like 500 people playing. 500 out of millions. That's not good. I don't think this content is going to bring people back. I think that they don't have enough. Like, for instance, you would think that if you have the Avengers, you would have a multitude of bad guys to fight. And right now you don't, which is pretty embarrassing. And there's a lot that they could do. I would love to see them leave a team to just, small team to continue supporting the people that play, because, you don't want to forget about the people that invested in this. And I'd like to see them move forward on a new Tomb Raider trilogy. Let's get a different take on Laura. Don't reboot it, because I don't think they've already done that. But Jamie, for you, what were your takeaways from the Square Enix event? Anything jump off the page for you?
I mean, I've been hype training Outriders for the past year.
Yeah, you have. You sure have.
It's not often we get a. The thing is that the reason I've been hyping it a lot is because we don't get a lot of third-person sci-fi RPGs, which you can also play in single player, and this is that. And it pretty much scratches everything I need. But other than that, not really. I mean, the problem is I love the Tomb Raider trilogy. The Tomb Raider reboot, absolutely fantastic. The Rise of the Tomb Raider, one of my favorite games last generation. But Square Enix, they kind of messed up here because they could have at least enhanced all the games for the new generation, which they didn't. And when I was thinking about buying it, but the truth is, it's just a bundle of all the games that already exist. It's not a new set of games with new achievements. So that's a bit of a miss. And the thing is that the first Tomb Raider game in the collection, it's still like 720p or something and never got enhanced at all. So that's a shame. That Bale and Wonderworld thing, I played the demo for that a few months ago. It is one of the worst games I've ever played. And wow. I say that as someone that played The Mummy 2 on the PlayStation 2. It was absolutely terrible. I mean, it's a $70 game. That piece of crap is a $70 game. And I feel bad saying that because that's made by the creator of Sonic. Just a bad game. But Project Athea looked cool. I don't agree with the two. The problem is with these 2-year exclusivity deals is that the PlayStation fans, they aren't getting any benefit out of it. They are getting the game they would get anyway. It's just keeping the game off other platforms for an amount of time that's going to hurt the game in the long run, because let's face it, Square Enix isn't going to advertise this game 2 years from now the way they're going to advertise it right now for Xbox. So
I wouldn't be surprised that when this game releases, it's going right into Game Pass, which is good for us, and so yeah, I agree. You know what? And that's the thing. I don't want to turn this into an us versus them thing, but I think it has to be mentioned, Jamie. And we will revert back to the Square Enix event because I don't want to forget why we're here. But it just goes to show you that, and I'm not talking about the community. Community is entitled to their opinion, right? If I put an opinion out there, I have to be responsible because I have a channel, and I really put this channel on my back, and I pride myself on what I do. So I don't want to turn it on to content creators who have a different opinion of us versus them. No, what I want to kind of just touch on for a hot second, folks, is the gaming media. And I'm not going to call it anybody in particular because you know what? I don't want a war. I still want to get guests on this show and I don't want to be blackballed. And you know what? You can call me whatever you want, but I'm trying to build my network. I will say this about the gaming media. It is funny how no one yesterday went out there and said, wow, we feel terrible for the Xbox gamers who can't get Project Athea for 2 years. That's 24 months after its release. Wow, we feel so terrible for you. Shame on you, Sony. But when you hear about Starfield potentially being exclusive because they spent $7.5 billion to buy the developer and all of its IPs, somehow in some camps that we've seen is bad for gaming. It's terrible for the community, and shame on Xbox for doing that. And that is what annoys me. And again, I don't want to kind of turn this into an us first thing, but I had to mention it, Jamie. And you're right. I think that Sony goes out of their way to keep content away from Xbox gamers, where Microsoft, they bought a company, they're putting it on Game Pass. It's going to be on Game Pass PC. You can play it on your phone, your tablet, your refrigerator, and later this year on your TV. So there's a big stark difference.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've been covering gaming on social media for 9 years now. I've been doing the YouTube thing for like 6, I think, something like that. And I'm always honest to people, and like it's awful to say, like, I see certain fans excited for games, and then they get questions constant. Like the Starfield thing was brought up every every single Phil Spencer interview for the past 6 months has been, is Starfield exclusive? Is Starfield exclusive? And it's like, the second these games are exclusive to PlayStation, and games could be exclusive to PlayStation, it's completely fine. It's like the entire media just completely ignore it. Like, I remember Rise of the Tomb Raider was announced for the Xbox, and Jeff Keighley was all over Twitter tagging Aaron Greenberg saying, hey, why is it exclusive? How long is it exclusive for? And that type of thing. And it's like, if anything's exclusive to PlayStation, nobody bats an eye, which is a shame, and hopefully things will change. But anyway, back to the Square Enix event. The Avengers thing. So I don't play games that are games as a service. I think they are a waste of time and a waste of money for me personally. But that said, I was thinking about buying the game for the new generation when it got enhanced. And right, the Black Panther thing, that was an awesome reveal, and I loved the way the suit looks and that. But it's like, that game's just a massive loss. You can tell. Like, the thing is, I think Square Enix should let Eidos Montreal and Crystal Dynamics make the games they're good at. So Tomb Raider for Crystal Dynamics and Deus Ex by Eidos Montreal. But it's like, this games as a service games are dying. Unless it's Destiny or Division, they aren't taking off. And I just feel like everyone's chasing this market that's just going away, because unless it's Destiny or Division, nobody wants to put the money to it. But even the best game that was shown yesterday wasn't even on the Square Enix show, which I find funny. But yeah, I mean, that's my takeaway from it. It wasn't that good, to be honest. Even though I watched all the individual trailers, there was nothing there for me really, outside of Outriders.
Yeah, and I agree. And something, being that you're such a big Mass Effect fan and a sci-fi fan in general, I think that's definitely going to scratch an itch for you. But I think what's more important to the conversation is that somehow or another Microsoft got that into Xbox Game Pass day and date, and that is fantastic. But you know what? Let Crispy Bomb, let's get your opinion on this, brother. Obviously, this was one of the, it's the third show of the year. Obviously, we had the Nintendo Direct, and then which was lackluster. Then we had the Sony event, which again, average at best, and now another average show. What were your takeaways from this? Anything jump off the page for you that you were like, yeah, I can't wait to play this, or it was a big miss for you?
Gonna kind of sound like Jamie. Outriders. That's it.
Yeah, not wrong with that, dude. That's okay.
Right up my alley. I mean, I would say Forspoken, but they locked it behind PS for 2 years, so I'm definitely getting a Series X before I get a PS5. So, it's one of those things. Like, it's probably not going to happen to have one of those anytime soon. And it's hard enough trying to get anything at this point. Like, that headset was like gone, snap of the fingers. Like, things are just so hard to get at this point. Like, I'm just like, well, I'm just glad I have my One X, and everything still looks really good. So, Tomb Raider making me feel a little old with that 25 years. I'm like, holy hell, I remember playing the first one. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my God, like that back then, even though it was all blocky, like that game was awesome. You know what I mean? So, for that to be shown was pretty crazy. And I haven't played the new versions. So you never know, but like Jamie said, they're not enhanced. What's the point? I mean, hopefully Xbox can have a little thing where they can go on the back end and make them look better. But, it's just like one of those things, like, can't you just like, up-res it more and make it look better. Like, put a little time into it. You know what I mean? You got Crystal Dynamics working on this Avengers, which it looked good, but what is it really? You know what I mean? Like, and from what I've seen from gameplay, because I was like, no, I'm not purchasing this, even though I love the Avengers and watch every single movie. I was just like, this is not a game that I'm going to play. And as I've continued to watch people play, I was like, it just seems way too repetitive for what it should be, in my opinion.
Oh, it's very repetitive, dude. You're absolutely correct for that.
And I'm about gameplay. That's a big thing to me. And I just feel like it's just not worth my time. Now, huge fan of Black Panther, so maybe if it's reasonably priced, I might jump into it, but then I'm probably going to be disappointed. That's just my feelings at this point. So I mean, Outriders, it's definitely up my alley. Something I've been kind of wanting is like almost a Gear style looter, like that's something that's like really cool. And I didn't play the demo on purpose because I was gonna buy it at first, and now we're getting it on Game Pass. Like, hey, but I was like, let me not, because I know when I play a demo like what the game should be, and I don't know what this should be yet. So why not just let them do their thing, get their feedback from whoever plays it, and I'll just go in with a fresh eyes, and hopefully I enjoy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree, and I think that you're smart on waiting, because obviously, when we had the Melissa McGame Pass drop that hint of of something, people would try to equate it with Andromeda, and I'm like, that's already available on EA Play, so I mean, why would that be it? And it went ahead, was starting to throw around the Outriders conversation, and sure enough, and when Aaron Greenberg came out over the weekend, was like, yep, it's coming in. That's a big deal. That is a big deal. But Dreadpool, let's get your opinion on this. Anything for you that I guess checked some boxes for Square Enix, the event, or was this another kind of like a big pass?
Dude, Avengers jumped right off the table and into the trash can.
Oh wow! Listen, I can't argue that. I mean, again, as a fan of the MCU, I am not a fan of this game.
So that being said, though, when I saw the Black Panther little tease there, I was like, all right, it's crawling back out of the can. Let's hopefully this will be something that they actually pull a bit more heart and soul into to bring it back. And granted, I have not played it. Okay, I'm just by everybody listening to everybody. Some people loved it. More people really got tired of it, and so I've been like on the wishy-washy side, like I'll wait for it, maybe it'll hit Game Pass and then I'll try it out. But right now nothing has actually hit me to play that game, to want to play it. It seems like it's too much of a grind, and there's still too much confusion with some of the stuff that they've been doing. So like I said, I'm still passing on it. Hopefully maybe when Black Panther comes out, that they fix all these little issues and nuances that have been plaguing the game. Then I'll probably consider going back in. But really, the only thing that got me in awe is Outriders. And the Forking Crew's been covering it since day one when they announced it, and I was just like, nah, that's not for me. That's not for me. And the more and more they were going over it, I'm like, you know what? I'm thinking I might be interested in this. And then, we got to play the NDA Alpha, which I think we were allowed to say that part of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I like this. I'm playing Devastator. I played, I don't know how much of it. I got to the point where I was just playing by myself and just like over and over grinding away, and I still had fun. I got to a point where I was like, all right, I'm going to stop playing for a little bit and, play some other games. Play something that's, I'm going to be playing this when it comes out. I'm going to pre-order it. And, this is good. I like this. And next thing you know, they started modifying some of the beta, or not the beta, but the demo. So, and I haven't gone back since then. But it's just like, this is really cool. Then it hits in Game Pass, and it's like, well, I get to save some money, or do I go ahead and still pre-order and get those bonuses? You know what I mean? So it's like, ooh, what do I do? But the rest of the show, I did get intrigued with Darius. I was like, "Ooh, this is cool." Blast from the Past, right?
Yeah.
And then you got Space Invaders. What are they gonna do with Space Invaders?
Yeah, it's for mobile. It's an AR game.
Still, what are
Yeah,
they
I
gonna
mean it's
do?
interesting for sure. I mean, again, if you're into the Pokemon, AR stuff, then maybe this is for you. It's definitely not for me.
Yeah, I tried the Minecraft AR, and it's not. For me, it wasn't working too well. I don't know if it's just old age or something, and I'm just not 12. Uh, I don't know. You know what I mean? So, but I'm still interested. I want to see what they're gonna do with it. I'm still gonna check it out. I don't care if it's a cell phone. You guys know me. If it's a game, I'll play it anywhere. You know what I mean? Let's check it out. It doesn't matter if it's on a phone, if it's on a black and white TV, if it's on tube. Just whatever it is. Let's check it out. Let's see what it is. I mean, I tried out Stadia, right? We see where that's at. But
Yeah, there you go.
you got to try it out. You can't that's why, like I said, with Avengers, I'm watching. I want to try it out, but it's like I can't fork out the money just to be like, yay, I tried it, I didn't like it, and then walk away and not touch it again. That's just kind of ridiculous. But if it's something we can get our hands on and try it out and see if we actually like it, that's where it's at. Not every game's for everybody.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So, but that's really and I did for those of you that miss these events, 2x is your friend. 2x speed. So watch a 45-minute show in about 25 minutes. You're good.
Well, I mean, obviously, we're not really listening to what they're saying. We're just watching the screen, and that's actually a good point. But again, folks, as we wait for, we wanted people to file in for the good stuff. We figured we'd just get that out of the way, spend 30 minutes or so on that. I do want to move on to, of course, topic number 2. And this is going to be, VR. When we'll be talking about PlayStation VR 2.0, we got a chance to see what the controllers look like. They look very reminiscent of course, the Oculus Quest, which I have, and I can tell you that those controllers feel great in the hands. They work really, really well with VR, and so I'm very excited to see what Sony does. I wish Joe was here because I wanted to get his opinion on it. But again, this is not the biggest topic of the show. The Xbox topic event is, I think, the biggest one that most people are looking forward to hearing about. So what we'll do is we'll start talking about PlayStation VR, whether it interests us, and more importantly, I'm going to ask the question on whether or not Xbox needs to get into the VR space now that Sony has officially basically thrown the gauntlet down that they are doing a new PlayStation VR 2.0. Now, some of the information that came out from the press release, and this came directly from Sony. This wasn't a leak or anything. This was directly from Sony. And I pulled this from the PlayStation blog. And what's interesting is that these controllers, they look great. They're very light in your hands. If they are identical to what the Quest has, the wands that you had for PlayStation 1 VR, and of course, I don't know how many people here on the panel had it. I know Noof did. I still have mine. The wands that you use were a little heavy. They're a little awkward to use, and they never really felt that good in the hands. But one of the small points, and again, this is obviously small. If you had PlayStation VR, the first one, it had to be hooked up to almost like a bento box, and the wire was pretty heavy. It kind of hung down from the back of your unit in the back, and it was a little heavy. What I was hoping for, and unfortunately has been confirmed, that it is not going to be the case unless I'm reading this wrong. And I'm going to read directly from the quotes regarding it. These quotes come from the vice president of platform planning at SIE, Hideki Nishino. He said, these are the 3 quotes that he says. There's no constraints on how we're moving your hands, providing developers with the ability to create unique gameplay experiences. We are taking what we've learned since launching PlayStation VR on the PS4 to develop a next gen VR system that enhances everything from resolution to field of view to tracking to input. And this is where I get disappointed. He says it will connect to the PlayStation 5 via a single cord to simplify setup and improve ease of use while enabling a high fidelity visual experience. Okay, so this is where I kind of scratch my head because okay, now the Oculus Quest, the first one, some of the graphics not top notch, certainly not Series X graphics for sure, PlayStation 5 graphics, but it still looked pretty good. I don't know if the technology requires you to have a cord. I don't know how thick this cord is going to be. Is it going to be just a thin cable? Is it going to be like a USB-C cord? Can it take a snag if someone walks by, or you actually turn yourself around and you pull on it? No one's going to know until we see exactly what this cord looks like and where it plugs into both the console and, of course, the unit. But I'm actually a little disappointed. And to bring Xbox into the conversation, really, what it comes down to is when the headset released, we saw a story come from IGN Italy. And they reported that when they when they attempted to hook up or connect their headset to their Xbox Series X, a prompt came up on the screen to update their VR unit. And of course, the internet went crazy, and for good reason, because we have heard Phil Spencer said that currently VR is not something that they are looking into right now. And again, this is just a response from Redmond, no specific person. They said the description in the on the screen is an error message that's inaccurate due to a localization bug. Now, this comes from a spokesperson at Redmond, and they told this to, of course, IGN Italy, and they said this: console VR is not our priority right now. So the question is, and I'll start with I'll start with Noof, because Noof, obviously you're a fan of VR.
Absolutely.
First of all, are you disappointed with the fact that the PlayStation VR 2.0 is going to have a cord plugged into the console? And more importantly, the second part of the question is, do you think that somehow Xbox brass is missing out on something, not bringing VR to the new consoles?
Okay, to answer the first part of that question, sure. I mean, it's a little disappointing to have a cord, but I had both iterations of the PSVR. I had the original unit, like you said, with the big, thick, heavy cord, and then I had the revised version, which
Yes, with the HDR
simplified
pass-through.
thing. Yeah, with the HDR pass-through and a much smaller cord, and obviously improvements to some of the button functionality and placement on the headset itself. So, I mean, overall, personally, I mean, I spent the majority of my time playing VR pretty much sitting down in a stationary spot, right? So I personally didn't have a lot of issues with it. Now, saying that, I'm the recent adopter of an Oculus Quest 2. And I love it thoroughly. Like, the Oculus Quest 2 is a huge step forward for VR, in my personal opinion, because one, it has no cords. It's simple to set up and play. You can pretty much set this thing up anywhere as long as you got a couple of feet in a direction, either which way. Yeah, the graphics are in a lot of the games themselves are probably the one of the biggest downsides to the Oculus Quest 2. Again, obviously running out of the headset, it doesn't have it doesn't have the PC power, to kind of run the games per se, if that makes any sense. So a lot of it, I don't know how they do it, but obviously there's space limitations, and there's limitations to obviously having a standalone headset. But anyway, Microsoft is missing out if they don't get on this boat. I know, like, I'm looking at the chat, and there's a big crowd of people. VR sucks. I don't understand the hate, because a lot of the people that I seem to talk to that just don't like VR and can't accept it have this either two things that I'm kind of getting. They don't play it and they're afraid of it. They're somehow scared to death of this thing, like it's going to take over gaming or something, and all of a sudden we're going to not have a traditional controller, which is never going to happen. I think it's great to have, as we've always said, and gamers say this to me all the time, because of me and my Game Pass stance. It's great to have options, right? Well, there's nothing wrong with those options. A lot of money on the table with VR. And you know what? Xbox, more than any other console right now, largely thanks to Game Pass, is the perfect ecosystem for VR. Because even if Microsoft just invests a little bit to get someone else to take care of the manufacturing and the hardware side, so either they license out a current set that currently works, or they think would work well with the Xbox Series S and X, or they make one themselves. They obviously have the means to do it. But the thing is here, they should get in because there is a large portion of fans who want to get VR, who would definitely spend the money to buy it. And for Game Pass, see, one of the problems for developers right now, and why VR seems to be a little lackluster, at least I think so, is because the install base is still so low that very few developers right now, they have the tech, they have the talent, but they don't have the finances, and they don't want to gamble. It's a big gamble to spend $100 million on a VR game that may never take off because there's not enough install base to make sure the game is successful. You know what I mean? So if you only got 5 million VRs in the wild, and say the average is 10 or 15% of people buy your game, well, that's not a whole lot of people buying a VR game.
Yeah.
So like we saw that with PlayStation. Look, remember the Batman one that came out? I mean,
so
it had,
good.
yeah, it was good. And it had the AAA quality, right? Like it had the AAA visual, it had the AAA quality. It felt a lot like the Arkham Knight, but it was very short. It was obviously a good taste of what VR could do, but it wasn't a true example of everything that VR could do or where it was going. It was kind of just a taste, something to kind of get people to bite in. But that's the thing. We don't see enough of those things, and we don't see a fully fledged game because, again, the install bases are too low. So here's where Game Pass would be a huge benefit here, is that once people had the headset, for the game developers themselves, they could take a lot of risks here because their games would get massive exposure through Game Pass. And I think you'd see a lot more risks taken. You'd see a lot more titles. And I think if the game developers take risks with VR, the gamers themselves will take those risks. They might take the plunge and they might buy into it. I'm super excited for the PSVR 2. Those controllers look awesome. They've obviously taken a lot of what's working for the Oculus and kind of adopted that. And that's a huge step forward, because that was one of the other drawbacks of PSVR was the old PlayStation Move controllers, which is old tech. I mean, Move was out years before the PSVR ever came out. They just adopted the technology and hoped to God that it actually worked. But again, Boom, you've used it and you know that sometimes it worked pretty well. Sometimes it was very hit and miss. And again, it was old technology. I always joked about it. I said PlayStation had so many PSVR, or was it the Move controllers left over from the PS3 era? They were sitting in a warehouse, and somebody said, man, we can't let this stock go to waste. We better find a way to make them work. And that's what they did. So, and charge double. I remember it's funny because at the end of the PS3 era, those controllers were like selling like in the bargain bins for like $10 a piece, and then when PSVR came out, they were back on the shelves for like
$60,
$100.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I was like, wow, what happened there? But yeah, that's my take on it. The Concord is not a big issue, and I don't think it will be for most people. I think what we're looking for with PSVR 2 is comfort. It's going to be visual. It's going to be basically fixing the wrongs of the first model, and hopefully they'll have like the older games will carry over and be compatible as well, and you'll be able to play some of your back catalog and perhaps even reap the benefits of newer technology with it. So that's my thoughts.
No, and great as usual. Again, listen, you're a fan, I'm a fan. We're not shy about saying we enjoyed PlayStation VR. I enjoyed Oculus. I don't use these things a lot. It's never going to replace gaming. But it's a nice option. It's nice to do something different. And you know what? I'm looking forward to PlayStation VR 2.0. I'm not all bent up out of shape about Microsoft not jumping on board. I think that what they're currently doing is enough on their plate. Sure, if they had the option, would I support it? Absolutely, 100%. But am I crying that they're not? Not really, because there are other avenues to get VR But Jamie Moran, let's get your opinion on this. Obviously, for Sony, full steam ahead on PlayStation VR 2.0. We didn't get a chance to see what the unit looks like, but I think they're going to dole out the information a little bit at a time. So we got what the controllers look like, and they look pretty good. What are your thoughts on that? And more importantly, do you think that Microsoft is missing the mark, or maybe not hearing the fan base, or is there just not enough interest in VR anymore for Xbox to spend the money to develop one?
Well, I've got to say, Noof's been right about the whole controller thing. The new controllers for the PlayStation VR 2 look fantastic. It looks like they'll be using inside-out tracking similar to the Oculus 2. And, it makes sense. It's a more accurate way of tracking in 3D space. But, the thing about the Move controllers is that Noof's right, they adopted a generation old, controller for VR, and it didn't even... It's weird because, those controllers didn't even have thumbsticks on them, and it's weird how they decided to take a piece of existing technology and just rehash it for VR, which I thought was odd. But it looks like they properly invested in VR this time. PlayStation does have a viable VR market, which is a lot of people don't have at the minute. So it looks like they're going the right route. The whole one wire thing, I don't really see a problem. There's a USB-C port on the front of the PlayStation 5. For wireless, you need either a big-ass battery pack style transceiver thing, or you go the Oculus Quest route where it has a Snapdragon inside and it does the processing there, but the PlayStation, they aren't going to do that. But I don't think it's an issue having one cable. As long as I think they should use something like a MagSafe connector, because that way, if someone trips over it, your PlayStation doesn't go flying across the room. But yeah, I think that's all cool. The headset's probably going to look sleek. VR headsets are beginning to look a lot more sleek. But the whole Xbox thing, look, I can't use VR. I'm massively sick the second I try it, just due to the motion sickness. Hell, I remember the first time I played Crisis on a television, and I nearly vomited everywhere. So that's me. But even though I can't use it, I still think VR should come to Xbox someday. I just think Microsoft, I think they want to get a staple of games out first before they invest into supporting VR, because supporting VR, they either go one or two routes. They either make their own games and have third-party games as well, or they just have VR supported and don't put out any games. And I feel like if they did do that, people would just judge them too harshly or not enough or whatever. But I think one day we will see VR on Xbox. I just think it's going to take more AAA games to come out, because look, like Noof was saying, there's not enough people with headsets that developers want to make risks and put out big games. But it works the other way around as well. It's like this endless cycle. It's like Half-Life Alyx changed people's perception on VR.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, indeed. Great point.
I think we will see more. It's like the new Medal of Honor game by Respawn. That's one of them style games, big AAA budget VR game. I think when we see a few more of them, we'll see Microsoft begin to look at VR headsets more seriously. And who knows? One day we could potentially see Half-Life Alyx come to Xbox and PlayStation when the market's bigger. But I think the new PlayStation handsets, they're cool. And Microsoft, I think one day, maybe in the next 2 years, we'll see a VR headset.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Real quick, let me catch up with some of the super chats. First of all, the first one of the day comes into a good friend of the show, Ra89, drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, Xbox needs to step up their game regarding game compression. BC or backwards compatibility is nowhere to be found, and Kraken, I'm assuming you're talking about on the PlayStation 5, is shining, and backwards compatibility is supposed to be superior. I don't necessarily know if I agree with that per se. I have to see a specific game that's potentially running better, but I think that Jason Ronald has cleared up why that's happening. And sure, should the games be running better on the better hardware? Absolutely. I think they'll get that stuff ironed out as they become more familiar. The developers become more familiar with the hardware for sure. Pixel Bit G, generous friend of the show, he drops an outstanding $2 super chat and says, Moss, Batman, and Blood and Truth are great VR games. I own every one of them, and yes, you are completely right on that. Victor Alistine, what's up, dude? He drops a $2 super chat and says, they already support AR and VR on PC Game Pass. You know what, dude? If that is true, then that is new information to me, because I actually didn't know that, to be honest with you, because I don't play on PC. But Crispy Bomb, let's get your opinion on this. PlayStation VR is something that Sony said they were going to do. We haven't heard anything in a while. We got pictures, actual screenshots, several of them, of the controller, which means it's all full steam ahead for them. And of course, then we got the small, translation error in Italy when they try to hook up their headset, talking about VR, and we know that Microsoft immediately responded with yeah, listen, console VR is something we're not looking into. For you, are you interested to see what Sony brings to the table for next gen VR, and is Microsoft missing the mark?
Well, I mean, first off, thank God they got rid of those Move controllers, man. I've heard the most complaints about
they were pretty bad. They didn't track well at all. Yeah.
Not being a fan, but I definitely know a lot of people that have PSVR, and that is one of the biggest complaints they've had. Not just that, the wire thing, I'm a little confused. I mean, you would think they wouldn't want a wire. The only thing I can think of is maybe they want to keep it cost effective, and it might be more cost effective to have the wire there. Hopefully it has some kind of tensioner or something that just releases if any tension is put on it, because I mean, imagine somebody's PS5 flying across the room. That would be devastating.
Be bad, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, hopefully they have, because that's a top heavy big boy, and it's that thing falls, I think it's done. I'm just saying. But Xbox, on the other hand, Phil has one promise that he has not kept,
and that's VR. Yeah,
high fidelity VR. And he was saying this when the One X was coming out. Now, with this little tidbit, I'd say somewhere in the near future, you're going to see, and I only say this because even on the Bethesda, the round table, they were showing VR on some of the little flashbacks and stuff, which was interesting to me. So, because you really wouldn't think that they would even bother showing that stuff, because it's actually a hurtful thing for them because of what happened legally wise. So I'm a little curious about, with Bethesda joining, how much we could actually see this actually happen and have some first party exclusives come out of it at some point. So I'm definitely interested, but at the same time, you don't know. I mean, right now they need to get games out. That's the biggest thing. So,
right.
Glad to see the changes, at least to the controller, the biggest complaint for PlayStation. And, Phil, you got one more promise to keep, bro. So let's see it.
Well, something that's funny, because I just wish that, again, if I don't know how well VR would do on the Xbox, but I think that they could probably get away with not producing their own peripheral and using the Oculus Quest or using the Rift. You know what I'm saying? Or even the Valve unit, allowing these onto the console for use might be interesting without actually having to take the time to mass produce them. I mean, they could be marketed and labeled with an Xbox logo on the hardware, specifically being used for Xbox. But we don't know what they're going to do. I agree with you, Crispy. I think that at some point or another, they're going to bring it forward. I know that Phil's biggest thing is the cords. Like he said it. He said, I will be interested in VR for the Xbox when the wire situation is rectified, meaning that he wants it to be full wireless. Now, again, how many years are we from that? Well, shit, I don't know. I'm not a developer. But I do want to get Dreadpool's final opinion on this, and we're going to move to the big topic of the show. And Dreadpool, look, again, I don't know how much of VR you've experienced. For me, I loved it. I really, really enjoyed my time with PlayStation VR. In fact, I still own it. I have a shit ton of games for it. Wilmy Hood not this Christmas, but the Christmas before, gifted me the Oculus Quest, which blew my mind. And I've been using it ever since. I still play Beat Saber, which is freaking awesome. It is just so much fun to play. I have the Star Wars games. They're okay. You could definitely see the technology's a little laggy behind for sure. For you, where do you feel on the new controllers for the PlayStation VR 2.0? And do you want to see Xbox adapt VR?
Okay. I'm just gonna backtrack a hair. I know we kind of moved past it, but BC Pack is actually Microsoft's compression software.
Oh, okay.
So that's what that is. It's supposed to be superior. It just has not come into fruition for us to see it. For our storage, for our files to be reduced and have more space for our hard drives. So that's just a clarification. Now I have played Halo VR. Okay, I did that a few years ago. That was really cool. Okay, went to Halo Discovery Outpost.
Oh, I remember you posting that. Yeah, dude, I
Yeah.
remember that. Yeah.
So that was really cool. That was wireless. All we had was a laptop on our back, the headset, and the simulated gun with the cable going to the backpack. Everything else, we couldn't tuck, we couldn't roll, we couldn't run. There was so much, but it was a big room. I'd say like open space, 30 by 30. So we had full area, nothing in between. But when you had the headset on, you had your walls. So it was really cool. I'm thinking that that's what they're going to go with. They're going to go with that wireless part of it. And we got to remember what happened with the Xbox One X, right? They wanted VR to come to it, and they realized it was just too bulky. There was just not enough compression on hardware to be able to move around. Now, we talked about worrying about tripping over one thin cord, and having it pull your system out or tripping over or anything like that, right? So what is Phil's, you got to think about it this way, what is Phil's and Xbox's main objective? They're fixing the narrative, they're fixing this, they're fixing that. It's one step at a time, right? So right now, VR was on that headset when it had to go through the update. But that's not something that you still have to plan into the future, but it might not be your full focus right now. And that's probably what it is yet again, he doesn't want to trip over everything. He doesn't want to have any hazards, less liability, right? So if you trip over a cord, what is it? It's Xbox's fault. Is it not? Right? You trip.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there would be
twist your
something in the
ankle.
box to say that, be careful to
But
keep them from legally being sued.
We've seen Karens and overprivileged people that want to do all this stuff. So you got to minimize all those possibilities. So right now, what is it? The HoloLens, right? You know how expensive that thing is?
Yeah,
And
it
they're
is.
still-
It's
they're
about
still
$1,000.
using it. It's still being utilized, but nothing to cheap enough for us to do anything with. Okay, so even if you did mix it with your Xbox, it's going to be too expensive. Nobody wants another Kinect. Okay, I
Right.
do, but I don't want that stigma of how it was forced upon us. Right, and it's going to be forced upon you if you have to go like this, and this is this much money. Forget it. So why even put it out there, right? Let it out. Let it culminate when it's ready, and then go from there. Now, what PlayStation did, that was good. That was genius, right? We got old hardware. What do we do with it? How do we do something with it, right? So they got the whatever I know the bad version of what we used to call them, the sticks. But that was genius, right? How do you do something with what you have? And that's what they did. They made something for VR with what they already had. Now that we're on the version 2, they've done more. And at the same time, from the time that they released the first PlayStation VR to what they're going to do now, VR has grown. The controls have grown for VR. There's so much more technology that has happened since then, and here. Okay, so the first time I did VR, I was at a fairgrounds at one of the computer, uh, whatever it's, I don't even know what it's called. It was just like computer everything, right? Computer tech, everything like that at the fairgrounds. That's when I first tried it. Okay, and this is the lines and the blocks and all this stuff. Nothing, you could drive a car, right? Remember that car VR simulator that you had in the arcades? Even though you weren't playing it with a VR headset, you were still driving with the blocks and everything, right? But at that time, we had the headsets, and they were so primitive. And you look at where we're at now. You got with Alex the game, right? It's like one of the best games. You have the Batman VR that people are looking in the mirror and doing all this stuff. So this is all technology that has progressively moved on, right? At some point in time, you're going to jump in. But when is the right time to jump in? Is it because when you're building your brand up again? Do you go out and put everything out there all at the same time? Sony didn't do that. They worked on the PlayStation 5. They're working on their memory, and now they're announcing PlayStation VR for PlayStation 5, right? They're doing it in steps. Everybody, as soon as somebody does something, everybody wants the other competitor to do that exact same thing right now. Well, guess what? The exact same thing is not always going to work for everybody. We talked about Game Pass, right? PlayStation's doing their version of it, and everybody wants either to be the exact same or to be completely different and its own thing, right? We can't agree on it, but that's not our choice, right? Yeah, we want to have that choice, that option. They have to know what is best for them to give us the best quality we can, right? So VR is going to be that thing. If Microsoft wants wireless, let them have wireless. Yeah. That's what we're going to get. But if PlayStation wants to hurry up and get on the bandwagon ahead of time, and this is how they want to do it, you know what? They know what's best for them and their company, and hopefully for us as customers.
And let me just say too, like I'll just do it real quick and just say that part of the reason too, like I know a lot of Xbox fans wanted VR for Xbox, but think of it this way: it was too late. It was too late because PSVR came out like several years after the PS4, right? But like a lot of people wanted Xbox VR, and they basically, by the time that they were starting to drum up the hype, the Xbox One X was coming out, right? But to bring out a VR that late in the gen when your install base is nearly half the amount of your competitor, it just didn't make sense. I think that had more to do with them not getting VR than the fact that they didn't want VR. I just think they're like, no, it's a little too late to launch a new tech and try to bring in our customers. I think if they're going to do it, they'll do it now with the Series S because they have the power. Like I said, they have the Game Pass element, and like I said, and they can kind of launch somewhere within that window of PSVR 2 and not be like 4 or 5 years after the fact.
Wouldn't you be jaded if you bought Xbox One X and then within the year bought Xbox VR, and all of a sudden here we are, a couple years later, buying the S or an X, you know what I mean? And then you're still going to get the older visuals with the older tech, which a lot of people are still getting sick from. All right, not everybody can still handle it because of the lower resolutions, the lower speed, frame rates that they're giving you. The immersion might not be there. I mean, there's so much going on. Let the PC guys figure this out. That's my thought, right? Let the PC guys figure it out. And as the non-Valve companies like HP and Acer and all those guys figure out their headsets, which work right now on PC, let them figure it out and then eventually bring it in. And then you don't have to worry about building anything. You just say, hey, look, if you want to bring your VR to our Xbox Series consoles, it has to meet these specs. And then you can say that your VR headset is Series compatible. And there you go. You don't have to worry about it. It's somebody else's thing. It's third product. They have to license to be able to be on your console. There's so many avenues. But yet again, do you want to deal with it now? Or do you want to deal with what you got going on and still talk to these people, right? We didn't buy companies just off of a whim, right? Xbox spent many years before they decided that they were going to buy them, and then still spent many years before it actually happened to make the announcement and go for the bid. There's still, you can't just say, hey, I'm going to do this and then snap your fingers. It doesn't always work that way. And we've seen many companies do that and falter.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, the kind of investment that is required for VR, it's going to be a big deal. Microsoft is waiting because they have other plans. Their other plans include, I think for them, that's more important is being able to play anywhere, being able to, and you know something, when you sit back in the chair and you see where Sony is going, like Sony is, they dug their feet into the ground and it's like, listen, we're going to keep going with VR. Whereas Microsoft, they did say originally, sure, they wanted VR, but then they backed off on it because they knew that they couldn't deliver or they were gun shy from what happened with Kinect. So they invested all of their R&D into what? Project xCloud, being able to play your Xbox games remotely via the cloud on your phone, your tablet, your pewter, or of course later on this summer on your TV. So it depends on who you ask, who made the better investment. I think, again, this is not picking sides because I'm buying a PlayStation VR 2.0 day one, not even a question. But when you talk about the niche market that's going to adapt that, 5 million units sold for PlayStation VR 1.0 on the PlayStation 4 versus 117, let's just say 120 million customers. That's not good. And Sony, they think that they could do better, and it's good on Sony. Whereas Microsoft probably saw that and were like, we're just going to keep, doing what we're doing and trying to, get millions and millions of subscribers from everywhere, from the casual to the PC market, back to the Xbox, and even PlayStation fans that left Xbox to go to PlayStation would probably and potentially come back. So again, it depends on who you ask.
And don't forget, Boom, it's all about price too. Because if there's one thing that's been stagnating the PSVR is it's still pricey.
Yeah,
you
it
can't
is.
really, like, even after all these years, it's still pricey.
It's still $300. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's a big reason why the Oculus Quest 2 saw a big surge, because they have 2 units and they have the cheaper entry level model with the 32 gigs built on board for in Canada I think it's like $350. So that's like what 100 is like what is it $199 US or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's amazing.
Yeah, again, it's a technology I think we're going to see advance over the next couple of years. I don't want to say it's niche. Well, yeah, you can say it's niche. I don't know if it's ever going to become mainstream is really what I meant to say. But you know what, Mr. Badbit, are you here, sir?
I am. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. And you know what, before we move on to the big topic of the show, I'm glad that you jumped in. First of all, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling a little bit better. Like, I still got a little bit of a headache.
Okay.
Papa didn't know that, when you already had COVID, that the shots affect you differently.
Right.
So Papa got just fell on his ass today when he woke up. Let me tell you.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, listen, first of all, we're glad that you're feeling better. I'm glad you got your shot. Obviously, this is the first one you're going. You have another one in 28 days. So obviously, hopefully you don't obviously get the same effects. But we're glad that you're here because we were talking PlayStation VR versus Xbox getting VR. And obviously, we got a chance to see what the new controls look like. They look awesome, especially if you are someone that, like myself, who has used the Oculus Quest. We don't know what the headset's going to look like. It's probably going to look, very close to what the console looks like in some respect. It's going to be futuristic looking. Disappointed that it has a cord. I thought that we could.
Oh, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that.
So give me your opinion on this. With Sony, what are your thoughts on their push to make VR, not a niche product? And is Microsoft missing the mark by not doing VR?
No, I really like where both companies are headed. And I know that's a strange opinion to have. I really like Game Pass. I think it's a terrific service. And I think it makes Xbox unique, right? I think VR as well, what Sony sees in it and their investments in it, they see that it is something that also makes them stand out, makes them unique. They're kind of going in two opposite directions. So oftentimes we want to pit them against each other. for whatever reasons, right? So for me, seeing PlayStation go into VR, they obviously see that there's an opportunity here. And is it potentially in games, or is it in how we render 3D sets, that type of thing? So, Microsoft's in the augmented reality space / VR space in their Microsoft products. And I think Sony wants to see what this headset can do for them, in terms of not just games, but outside of gaming as well. And I think giving people freedom, and getting a lot of the difficulties out of the way, because PSVR was very much a hodgepodge of different technologies Sony had laying around. It was a really cheap device to kind of make for them. I mean, you just take a look at the Move controllers. It was very much a concept, and they even stated it. They were just like, listen, we have very low expectations for this thing. This is very much just we're testing the waters here. So they're seeing that there's something there. And I think they're going to take a lot of what we see from the Oculus into that piece of hardware. And I don't want to like be the, try to like see the crystal ball or anything, but if I was Papa Sony, that is something that I'm looking into, is how do we get the restrictions out of the way to make it so that it's easier to make games in VR, but also easier for players to play in VR. Get those restrictions out of the way. Like from what I'm reading, this does not have a camera to read where your movement is. It's all in the headset itself. It really does scream that this is an Oculus Quest situation, which is also a single cord setup if you want it to be, or you can unplug it and have it, be just right there in front of you. You just lose some fidelity. But, Sony really wants to see where this technology goes. It looks like they really do have faith in it. And, like 4 million is not to say it's a bad number, because if you had zero expectations and all of a sudden you sold $4 or $5 million of a technology that you had no idea what would be in this era, and at the same exact time the attach rate for these things, people that are a fan of VR very much adopt that ecosystem. So yeah, if I'm Sony, I'm definitely taking a look at it where I can do it in gaming and also where I'm doing it in production. Remember, Sony's a production company at the end of the day.
Yes.
They invested in Epic for several reasons. One of those reasons being, in production, they use Epic to make a whole lot of rendering and actually have the director sit in VR goggles and look at what the scene is in front of them. So that's where I'm really thinking Sony's actually taking VR. But yeah, I like that both of them are doing stuff differently. And like, whatever is your preference, I think that just goes with whatever your preference of the ecosystem is. So like, if you really dig the Game Pass model, it's probably that you are on the Xbox bandwagon. And if you really like this, let's play with tech type of VR implementation, then probably Sony's going to be the way to go for you. But it's really just, it comes down to just preference. And I like to see both of them do different things in the same space.
Yeah, and I agree. And you know something, because I'm greedy, I want both. So I'm going to do the Game Pass thing, and I'm going to do PlayStation VR 2.0 when that comes out, because hell, why the hell not?
And
I
real
love
talk,
gaming.
if you're Microsoft, you let Sony be the guinea pig, right? Especially when it comes to gaming. You don't.
You know, it's funny
have
you
to
say
do
that,
anything.
because I think that they actually are but it's a tale of two sides of a coin, right?
Yeah.
Sony said let Microsoft make the investment in Game Pass, and if it works, we'll adapt it. And if Microsoft took the attempt, let them take the risk with VR, and if it works, we'll adapt that.
Yeah, and I really do think that's kind of where they're going. So honestly, like, no, Microsoft doesn't need VR because they're way more focused, like you said, they're way more focused on taking your gameplay anywhere.
Right.
That's where their whole thing is. They want to get you eventually playing a game on your phone. That's not what we think a game on your phone is.
Yeah, and that's real. And again, that's a great point, Joe. First of all, welcome to the program, brother. But I do want to move on to, of course, the big topic of the show, and this one I think is going to have a lot of legs, especially if you are someone that appreciates Xbox for what they're doing. One of the big things for Xbox is, especially in 2021, is we think, just based on a very early January article from Xbox Wire dictating what exclusives were coming. Now, a lot of those exclusives are second and third party games that are considered indie. They're smaller developed games, but I still think that they hold a significant amount of relevance to the conversation. But what happened yesterday, as if there wasn't already enough Xbox news, it seems as if like this has been, when you want to talk about having an incredible 2021, you can always equate that to a big game coming out and succeeding, or you can have a big announcement on some upcoming title or piece of hardware that's coming that gets the community excited. But this particular week was just incredible for Xbox, Redmond, and of course the millions of Xbox fans, because my God, Monday came and it just was one hit after another. Well, on Thursday, we had breaking news, 9 a.m. Pacific time, which of course was 12 p.m. And we talked briefly about this on the Xbox Factor podcast, but I thought that we didn't talk enough about it. And because I have such an incredible panel, and Joe, you had to step away because you went out and you streamed the Square event, I wanted to bring this back into the conversation. Now, we had heard from Paul Thurrott, who is the owner and of Thurrott.com, which Brad Sams works for, a friend of the show. And he had reported that there was going to be a Microsoft event. It was originally thought to be on the 23rd, and then they moved it to the 26th. And then Jez Corden, another friend of the show, who obviously writes for Windows Central and is a part of another incredible podcast run by Rand Althor, friend of the show, for the Xbox 2 podcast, talked about on an article that he wrote, that he had it on good authority that yes, there was in fact an event happening, but we did not know what that event was until yesterday. And before I get into the article, I do have to catch up on some of the super chats. I'm going to start with a good and generous friend of the show, Cat Daddy Lurk, in the chat. Hey, dude, welcome to the program, brother, and thank you for the outstanding $10 super chat. And he says, top-notch showing from Microsoft lately, indeed. And he says, keep up the great work, Boom and crew. Well, thanks, dude. I certainly appreciate the generosity and, of course, the compliment. And we have Logical Tech drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, VR will always be a little used novelty until the headset is no different than wearing a pair of glasses. Wow, that's a great point. Gaming is a leisure activity. VR is a workout. Yeah, I have actually sweated using VR for sure, especially playing Beat Saber, which is dope. That's why so many people lose interest in it. Yeah, I mean, I think that you're on to something with that, but I think the cost does scare people away, especially if you have to invest $2, $3, $4, even $500 on a headset, controllers, and of course games. Logical Tech drops, wow, an additional $5 super chat. Thank you for the generosity, dude. He says Microsoft didn't force Connect on anyone. They mistook a novelty for a trend when the best-selling Xbox 360 game of all time was Kinect Adventures. I actually enjoyed Kinect Adventures. I know I sound like a big old nerd, but that was actually kind of cool, man. The Wise Old Gamer. Hey, dude, welcome to the program, dude. He says this after dropping a $5 in chat. I believe that Microsoft is trying to become more mainstream. Sony has always said gaming is a niche market, so they're becoming more and more specialized. I mean, that's an interesting and very true part. I mean, again, I like what Joe said. Both companies doing their own thing, and that's great for gamers because you know what? Who wants to say that one's following this one and this one is following that one? But let's get back to the Xbox topic. Now, yesterday we had confirmation. It launched, it was on Xbox.com. And then, of course, we got an Xbox Wire article that confirmed the March 26th event that's going to be happening in conjunction with Twitch, which I think is a big deal. More importantly, we know that it's going to be live here in the East Coast at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 9 a.m. Pacific time, which is of course California time. And I think obviously, I think they might have posted in the world where it's going to happen. Like if you were in Europe, and it's a 5 hour difference. But what we got was some really big information. And according to the article, this is what they had to say. We are featuring tons of independent titles, including brand new game announcements from developers and publishers such as Drinkbox Studios, Curve Digital, Devolver Digital, and Dear Villagers, and others. And by the way, all four of those indie companies are freaking awesome. So of course, I'm very interested to see. But you see, when you say the word indie, like people immediately equate it for like, okay, there's gonna be a lot of games that look like Braid, right? Or or like dungeon crawlers that are hack and slash like Gauntlet. And the one thing I have to say is you gotta get out of that mindset. Indies have stepped up in such a big way that it's almost I don't think the community is insulted because they know that they're small. But I think that in referencing some of these games, they look so incredible and they're so detailed and they're telling such incredible stories that are they really indie? They are by their nature, but not in production. And what's exciting about this particular event is because, okay, we are still early into 2021. Now, we have seen 3 bigs drop shows, right? We saw Nintendo, average. We saw Sony's, depending on who you thought. I gave it a 6 out of 10. I thought it was okay. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. And then we saw Square's. If I had to give it a number, I'd say 4.5, 5 out of 10. It was a decent show, but not even up to the standards of good, in my opinion. Production value, sure, but not what they showed. This is an opportunity for Microsoft, and I say that they had shows, but they did have the round table, which wasn't a show, but it kind of was. And the production value there was incredible. I think they took the page right out of Sony, who does really good presentations, especially during the COVID digital era. But on the 26th, folks, Microsoft has an opportunity to really put it down for why you need to get Xbox Game Pass. And what's interesting is they talk about they will debut new trailers and gameplay for 25 games, including, and these are some of the top of the list for me personally, Second Extinction, which you've seen me play on this channel. I mean, it's Left 4 Dead with dinosaurs. What freaking more do you need, right? The Ascent looks better every time we see it, and it's what Xbox gamers want. Multiplayer, 4-player co-op. It's Diablo meets Cyberpunk. The game is made by 14 developers, and it looks so incredible. The Wild at Heart looks great. You had Void Train that they mentioned. XO1 looks dope. Again, and here's the big one for me, because I'm a fan of first-person shooters that give you ambiance when you play these games. Stalker 2 coming to PC. From PC to the console for the first time ever is a big deal. It's an Xbox exclusive. Now, for how long, I don't know, but it's going into Game Pass day and date. But here's the thing that gets me super stoked. These are the titles that they didn't mention, but I almost have on confirmation that are going to be there. Tunic has been in development for a while. We can't wait. If you've seen what Tunic looks like and you're an old school Zelda fan, then you know what I'm talking about. 12 Minutes looks incredible. It's a small story made by one man with an incredible voice cast, and the game looks incredible. Indie, sure, but it looks like it's going to be one of those games that could potentially be in the Game of the Year conversation, even as an indie. The Last Night, which we saw on the stage of E3 2018. It's a side-scrolling cyberpunk type of game. It looks incredible. Again, a big story. and a game that definitely resonates with me. We're probably going to see some gameplay from Crossfire X. Remedy is making that single player campaign. I can't wait to see what they do. The Gunk could potentially be there. The Last Stop, another one that's dark, scary, something that Zemi Games is not going to play. Scorn looks awesome, very H.R. Geiger inspired. Song of Iron, which Jamie you're a big fan of. Shredders, which is of the old school snowboarding game coming back. Warhammer 40K, again, it's a 4-player Left 4 Dead type of game. Looks dope. Bright Memory Infinite has been confirmed by the kid that's making the game that's going to be there. The Lake and Sable, along with a host of others. Joe, I'm going to go to you first on this because when you say indie, some people just poo-poo it. They're like, indie, whatever. It's not for me. It's not AAA. It's not Call of Duty. You know what? Okay, if that's the case. Yeah. But my God, what do you think about what Microsoft announced? Do you think they have an opportunity to make a big splash, closing out an incredible month for them?
Yeah, it's been Casey. Like, there's some news, like when we talk about the Bethesda thing, it feels like months ago.
Isn't it?
It's been nuts. So for Microsoft, they understand that there is an absence in the audience when it comes to indies, and that they have that absence, and they're trying to course correct it as much as possible, because what we've seen over the past few years is, indies were kind of, not to say they were born in this last generation, but they really blossomed in last generation, right? You have hundreds upon hundreds of developers, small developers, one person, handful teams. And what we've seen was, how indies are important for a brand, like for, PlayStation had propped them up for a year and a half. And if you're Nintendo, that's where a lot of your money is coming from. Nintendo has what it seems like the PC and Nintendo Switch usually count for the majority of indie sales. It's just a massive market for indies. Indies want to be on Nintendo. And what Microsoft wants to change is they want indies on Xbox. And this is a show of not just to the consumers that, hey, look at all these awesome games, but it's also the show the developer of, look, this is how much we're going to back your product, and we can assume that there's going to be dozens of this will be day and date on Game Pass type of announcements, and that's what they really want. They want, when we talk about like Game Pass filler, I think what they want is indies to kind of be that of like, oh yeah, I beat like, I don't know, Gears, but oh my God, look at this game. This is weird. Let me try it out. That's what they kind of want. And so I think this is a great first step for Microsoft to really go out in front here going, hey, we have indies too here, and at the same exact time, really try to make a name for ID at Xbox and really get in front of indies in a big way. So I really like this. The only thought that I have is 100 games is a lot. And my first initial thought process is don't do it's going to have to be, but like there's going to be a lot of montages. And I'm very curious.
Yeah, I was actually just going to say that because they confirmed gameplay for 25 of them, and I think the other 75 are going to be. There's going to be a run through like you would see it at an E3. Now, they're probably going to break it up into several different spots.
Absolutely,
they're not going to run through 75 games. I mean, that would take 20 minutes. But yeah, I think that's what's going to happen, Joe.
Yeah, and that's what I kind of like. Not to say fear, but that is the thing that I'm thinking. And if I'm an indie, I'm like, would I really waste resources on just trying to get like 2 seconds of B-roll? I don't know. So I'm very curious to see how this show opens up. I'm really curious. I like to see Microsoft get in front of things like this. So it's cool.
You know what? I hope that this is not only do I hope it does well for Microsoft, but at the same time, I agree with you. I hope it does well for indie games. And I would love to see this kind of a show dedicated to the indie community on a big stage at least twice a year. I'd love to see at the beginning and towards the second half of the year. I think this we could see a second show if this does well for Microsoft. Again, they teamed up with Twitch.
Oh, yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I'm right there with you. I agree for sure. Let's get some of our guests. Noof Nukem. Again, indie, or at least the definition of it, is still the same, but the product has changed over the years, and the quality and what someone would consider an indie has unbelievably changed. And some companies that you would consider to be indie are some of the biggest moneymakers. I mean, a perfect example is the Knockout game on PlayStation. It's made by an indie team, but they're all billionaires, right? I mean, they made so much money, and on the PlayStation Plus release of that game, and now it's coming this summer to Xbox, series consoles, and of course Switch. Again, just because it's a small developer doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have worth. What are your thoughts on this show, and what are you expecting? Uh-oh. Are you muted there, Noof?
He's in the back room.
Oh, there he is,
Oh
Noof.
no, there he is.
You bumped out, and I hear you back. Noof, did you hear what I was saying or no?
Yeah, I heard everything you
Okay,
said.
all right, so
My computer crashed. I'm like literally about 5 minutes away from taking this laptop and putting it right through my wall. I kid you not. I'm so tired of this junk, man. I don't know what happens, but anyway, yeah, I heard what you said, and I'm excited for this show. Like I said, it's time to give the indie guys a chance to shine. As a matter of fact, in the last few years, I'd say the indie the devs for the most part have been shining more than some of the big AAA guys.
I agree.
And the reason I
That's a
say
great point.
that is because we're starting to see them. Obviously, they're learning the technology and they're learning what can and cannot be done within a limited budget, and and even with really small teams. Like there's one game coming out right now. I know a lot of Xbox fans are excited for. I think it's coming to place. I'm not 100% sure, but it's Tunic, right?
Tunic is for right now. It's an exclusive for Xbox. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Just recently, Little Nightmares 2 came out, from Studio Tarsier. People love that game. I love the original game. The people that made Limbo, all these type of games. Sometimes not all of those games blow our mind graphically, but they're just a ton of fun to play. They take, they definitely stretch the imagination a little bit, and they do a lot more, and that's where you applaud them. Like they do take those risks. That sort of thing, and financially for the gamers, or even if they don't come to Game Pass, they're usually not big financial risk because most of the games never cost you a ton of money. But at the same time, when they go to Game Pass, they do get a lot of exposure. I definitely, and what defines an indie now is like I said, there's a fine line. That barrier is sort of coming down because there are some indie games out there from smaller developers that look just as good or nearly as good as anything we've seen from some of the AAA guys. So it's just absolutely amazing. Like you said, the guys, that guy that's doing Bright Memory Infinite or whatever it is there, like that game looks absolutely insane. And I think he's like the only guy working on it, like kind of doing everything.
Yeah, you know what? Believe it or not, Microsoft sent some help over to him, so he does have some help. But this game was created by a kid that dropped out of high school to make games. If you didn't know the story behind that.
So there you have it. That tells you everything you need to know, that with the right talent, the persistence, the drive, that things, and with software, the kind of software they have now, like through our own home PCs and through, the Xbox, Xbox at ID program. I think that you can get on the developer floor and start there. So I think the tools are more widespread than ever before. There's more game developers out there than ever before, whether I said they're small startups or they're small teams. I'm excited to see what comes out. The biggest thing for me overall with any of these shows anymore is the lack of dates, the lack of anything definitive as to when these games are launching. Like us all, you love to see new games, but you don't like seeing them where they're 4 and 5 years out and you're waiting and waiting and waiting, and then they disappear off the radar altogether, and then they come back and they disappear again. I mean, a couple of recent games that kind of fans been wanting, we haven't really heard much on. The Dying Light 2, like that kind of came out and had everybody, Dying Light 2, and then the developer said just the other day, I saw a quote from him, it's like, we teased it way too early and it's not close to being ready. Ubisoft had that Skull and Bones, that pirate ship game, that's nowhere to be found. It's like, what is going on with some of these things? But like I said, I'm excited for the show. I think it's going to be big. It's big. These shows are all subjective. It really comes down what you expect to see out of them. because some of the games that you might see you're super excited about, and I might see the same game and go, wow, that looked like a turd to me. So, that's the way it is, and that's why we always give different reviews on these shows. When they're said and done, somebody goes, well, that was an 8 or a 9 for me, and somebody says, that was a 6. Again, it's all subjective. It's what appeals to your taste. But yeah, I applaud the indie developers, man. They've come a long way in the last few years, and Xbox in particular has been fostering these guys right from the Xbox 360 era through Summer of Arcade and on up through. They've got a great relationship with a lot of these teams. They go out and support them. They help them. They give them tools to get stuff done, and you got to applaud them for it, man. It takes a lot of courage to go out there and drop these games, and they've done a good job. So we'll see what happens, comes down the pipe, but I'm definitely excited for the show when it comes out. And we'll see what, like I said, I don't think we'll see a lot of the big first party stuff, but we might see a few games that are close to the pipeline. Like you said, the Ascent, you mentioned that one and stuff.
I think what you get with the 25 games that they're going to show gameplay for, now we might have seen some of these games. I think that we do get release dates, or they'll say fall, for Stalker 2, for instance, or I think we're going to get. As a matter of fact, I would even dare say that we're going to get some dates, but we may even get some in Game Pass right now. Meaning that as the show is going on, they're dropping some of these into Game Pass, which would be pretty dope. I want to get Jamie's opinion, but Jamie, before I get to you, brother, let me catch up some of these incredible super chats. First of all, Logical Tech, my God, dude, thank you for your generosity. He drops another $5 super chat and says, isn't CD Projekt Red technically an indie developer? I'm looking forward to Second Extinction, Exo Mecha, Crossfire X, and Stalker 2. Yeah, me too. Yeah, you know what, dude? They are these, well, I don't know now with all the lawsuit stuff that's going on with them, but they were the second most richest European developer. I maybe 10 years ago, you could have considered them a developer when they brought out The Witcher 2. Maybe, but now after Witcher 3 success, I would definitely consider them a AAA developer for sure.
And remember, they're a publisher. They're
also a publisher as well. Yeah,
sorry, a storefront. So like GOG,
good old games, millions of dollars. Yeah,
they're a very huge company, but you could if you wanted to, I guess. Yeah.
All right. Well, let me continue with. Thank you for the super chat, brother, and thank you for the question. Let me just catch up. This chat is flying by. We have King One Supreme. Hey, King, welcome to the program. He says this after dropping a $2 super chat. Got into Dirt 5 thanks to Game Pass. Hashtag the Book of X. Dude, listen, I know I do a lot of Dirt gameplay on this channel. People probably bored as hell. But I have to tell you, it's one of my favorite games of 2020. Like, it is, you see the video. I mean, yeah, and this is not running at, 60 frames, like you would be, it's running probably 30 frames on YouTube, and it still looks damn good. You got to play it on the X. It's so much fun. I mean, I would even dare say that I've enjoyed it more than Forza Horizon 4. And I know I'm going to get booed in the chat for that, but that's how much fun I've had with it. Logical Tech, wow, dude, he drops another outstanding and very generous $5 super chat and says, boom, does indie mean not owned by a publisher, not publicly traded, or not larger than certain size? Thanks for the clarification. Joe, do you have a clarification for that? What's considered an indie?
Yeah, an independent studio. I mean, you can, again, like, you could consider like someone like a CD Projekt Red as an independent developer, but when we're looking at like indies, we're looking at small teams that don't have, or not to say don't have publishing, but aren't owned by an external entity. So,
like for instance, the Ascent team. The Ascent team has 14 people. That's super indie for sure.
So like a game like Maquette, which is being produced by Devolver, but that studio isn't owned by Devolver.
They just got attached to the publishing rights.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So thank you so much for that, Michael Kulik. Wow, Michael, welcome to the program. He drops an outstanding $5 super chat. Hearing Jez's comments on Randall Thor's latest video regarding big third-party exclusive projects has me hyped. Well, if you're hyped, Michael, I have already, and this is how hyped I am, I have already written Monday's primetime gaming, and that is the lead topic. That's right. We're going to be talking about the impact of Jade Raymond making an exclusive IP for Sony, and I think that's a big deal for Sony. I think it's even a bigger deal for Jade Raymond. I think she is a powerhouse in the industry, and I'm so glad that she wasn't tainted or or disgusted with what happened at Stadia. She's a talent. I cannot wait to see what she brings to the table. And yeah, that's one of the lead topics, as well as, yes, that particular interview. Well, not really an interview. It was during the Xbox 2 podcast. Jez Corden, my God, that guy talks about making news. Him and Randall Thor knocked it out of the park. That's the last one that I think it was last week's. Or it might have even been this week's, but definitely check that out for sure. Jamie, let's get your opinion on this. Look, the one thing that Microsoft has done well, maybe not in recent years. They are originally the Summer of Arcade is probably, for me, my favorite time of indies. It was a 6-year stretch that gave us some incredible indie titles that were put each in our faces each and every week. I looked forward to it. I was devastated when they took it away. But this particular indie showcase, we're going to see 25 games, 25 trailers, gameplay trailers. That's dope. And there's going to be over 100 indies where we're going to see, like Joe said in a montage, for you, knowing that most of these ID at Xbox titles are going into Game Pass and that they're getting their own show to stretch their wings. Are you excited to see what they're going to bring?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you have to think about like this. Most people, and everyone, 90% of the games we play are made by third party, so the games we play most of the year are made by these developers, and these indie developers actually take more risks with games than big publishers. So like Exomecha and things like Second Extinction, we wouldn't typically see being made by an Activision or Ubisoft. So I'm looking forward to things like that. Things like The Ascent. Cannot wait for The Ascent. 12 Minutes, which is starring Willem Dafoe, Daisy Ridley, and James McAvoy. Awesome cast.
Unbelievable voice cast, dude. And that's an indie, dude. That's bananas.
Yeah, and just all these cool, interesting games we wouldn't see elsewhere. And, thinking back to the 360 gen, like the indie boom happened because of the 360. And like, remember when Super Meat Boy released? That just changed everything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was a good time, but I like the fact that Microsoft getting these indies on board to talk about games that's going to be on the platform. I think it's going to be a bunch of developers showing next-gen versions as well, because, at the minute, if you go to the store on either platform, there isn't a lot of next-generation games out. Not really.
Right.
So I think we're going to see an emphasis on next gen, things like Second Extinction, Stalker 2. Stalker 2 is going to be huge because that is only Xbox Series X and S as well as Windows. That's my number one most anticipated game for next week. But
the trailer looked incredible, Jamie. It gave incredible vibes of the I always forget that Russian game with the first person shooter where the world ended.
Metro.
Dang, Mike. Thank you, Joe. Yeah, it gave me Metro vibes, but my God, that game looks incredible.
Yeah, and like the first game was huge in Europe, like absolutely massive, and I never thought we would see a sequel on console, and better yet, Game Pass. And I always say people, like, whenever indies get brought up, refer to these games as Game Pass fodder or filler, and like I don't really say it like that. Like, I don't want just like these AAA games that are just the same thing over and over again in Game Pass. Like, I like variety, otherwise gaming's just boring. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Again, Stalker is going to be probably the highlight of the show, showing next gen stuff.
Yeah,
I like what you said there too, because I'm sorry,
That's very good.
Just because you often see indies push AAA games into doing different things. And I think one game that we're going to see a lot of that from is a game like Hades, where, they were able to tell an amazing story with a rich cast in a roguelike, and you don't see that often. And so, yeah, like 110%, indies are the things that are pushing the industry forward. That's such a terrific point.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Joe. Again, knocking it out of the park. You missed yesterday, and you missed the beginning of the show, and you're back in full-fledged gear. Thanks for joining us, dude. We have a super chat coming in from Arn Comparo. Drops a very generous $1 super chat. Arn, welcome here. And speaking of Arnold, our own Arnold, I flew him in this morning. The chopper landed. He's here. Arn, listen, I know that you have a lot of money, so you don't have to worry about bargain basement, indie titles. But I'm interested to know what you think Microsoft is doing, bringing up these smaller indie developers and giving them the spotlight. How can you equate this to your career when you were considered an indie?
Well, I think it's great. They bring up the smaller guys. You have to let them shine. I mean, of course, if we never let the small guys shine. I mean, little guys like Sylvester Stallone would have never had a career. You know? So that's what you got to do. Every once in a while, you never know when the small guy is going to come up there and surprise you. They got the guys like Kevin Hart. He's a little twerp, but look, he's got the shine, and of course, he shines with The Rock when he comes out there for Jumanji and all of those movies. So everybody needs to shine, whether you're big or small, you're fat, you're tall. It doesn't matter. You just get out there and do it. You got to put yourself out there. It's all about your talent. It's all about your drive. It's not about about the rest of it, but it always helps. The only time that small is really bad in this world is when you have a small bank account, because you really can't get a whole lot of things done. You got no money to buy games. If you got $5 in your pocket, what are you going to out there and buy? You're going to buy a shirt for your character in a game you can't afford? I mean, what are you going to do? So give the indies a chance to shine. Let them get on the big stage, show what they can do. Sometimes it's that game that looks like it's absolutely terrible, and then you get there and you play like for 15 minutes, you're hooked, you're addicted, and you can't wait to go. I remember the one back on the Xbox, what Geometry Wars. That game looked absolutely terrible, but it was so much fun. You just had to move your little sticks back and forth. You didn't even complex buttons, but I died over and over, and I wanted to get the higher score. So let them do it.
Nice. Well, no, thank you for being here, brother. Definitely appreciate it.
When should they do it, you think, Arnold?
Do what?
Do it now, do you think?
Go for it now. What's the point in waiting? I'm getting older. I'm almost 70 years old. I mean, come on, let's do it. Like, stop waiting. That's the one thing about this game industry. Hate it. Everything now, you wait and you wait and you wait like 5 and 6 years for a lot of these games, these big ones. At least a good thing for the indies in between, because a lot of us would get old. We'd be waiting forever. Like, when is the next Grand Theft Auto coming out here? Like, swear to God, what's taking it so long? The last one launched in 2013. I mean, I'm going to be making Terminator 40 by the time this game comes out. Come on, get out there. Come on. These guys need to get to the chopper and get to the development studio. COVID, it's time for you guys to leave. Let's go. Let's get it done.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for, of course, the enlightenment. And Noof Nukem, let's bring Noof into the conversation. Noof, listen, we know that, you still are holding strong with your belief in Game Pass is not for you. And that's, dude, listen, you can't argue that. That is your opinion. That's the way you want to run it. But for you, as someone that is going to actually buy the games, like you're going to personally drop coin down because a game is going to interest you or it's not. Some of the games that are considered "quote unquote" indie seem to be worthy of your coin. More importantly, like a Stalker 2 looks incredible. It's going to tell an incredible story. First time on console. How big do you think this show is going to be for these indies on the 26th?
Well, I think I've already had a chance to answer that, didn't I, guys?
You know what? If you did, I actually forgot. Sorry about that, brother. I didn't know. I did not realize I went to you first. Okay, so listen.
Yeah, I'll let your other guests speak, but I'm not trying to jump in or trying to be rude there. But I think you started with me on this one. I think.
You know what? Maybe you know what? I thought I started with Joe, but okay, no big deal. We'll come back around to you. I'm getting old, folks. Crispy Bomb. Let's get your opinion on this. As someone that has been banging the Game Pass drum. For a lot of reasons. One, of course, it's value. There's just no denying that the over 370 games that they currently have in there is an impressive list, to say the least. But one of the things that they do very well is they don't sneak stuff in there. They make announcements. They go out of their way, whether it be on social media, through Twitter, through Facebook. You see the advertisement coming into Game Pass. For instance, good friend of the show, Larry Herb, aka the Major Nelson, who has been on this program, is always out there talking about the new stuff coming in. So this is a great way to get indies the spotlight they deserve. This show, I think, is going to be big for both Xbox, but more specifically, the indie community. What are you expecting them bringing to the show?
Well, first of all, I just want to say I saw 100 games and I said, how in God's name am I going to be able to play half of these? Uh, I do work Xbox. I mean, and the big thing is I feel like because Xbox is really shining a light on these games, you're going to see them either day and date in Game Pass or, Game Pass at some point. Games like Stalker and stuff like that. This is where we kind of, blur the line of what an indie is and what a AAA developer is. And, I go about a AAA game is a game that is a new experience that has a quality to it that is unmatched. And, fortunately for us over our lifespan of gaming, we have seen games that kind of come out of nowhere and just are like, wow, this is just a totally new experience. And it really comes from at least the start of these indie developers, and they need a light shined on them. I will say it's kind of, I feel like we're getting deja vu because didn't they kind of do this last year? Not with 100, but it's still, when they said 25 or something, we were like, what? And now they're saying 100. We're like, what? So I'm like, they're getting these games out of the way again. So what does that say for their exclusives that are coming out? They're in-house party exclusives. There's another show, and it's going to be mostly exclusive once again. Games that you will never see on another platform, or at least the other platforms, the two, Nintendo and PlayStation. So for them to get this out of the way now, also says what games are coming out this year and what are we going to see new, because they said there's going to be new announcements. So
yeah,
what game is going to be like, when we saw Stalker 2 or The Ascent or something like that, it almost feels like a year, like 4 years ago, it feels like almost. And, we're finally going to get those games. We need to see dates and we need to see gameplay. I want to see gameplay, especially from the games that we really haven't seen gameplay. We've seen little tidbits and stuff like that. Let's see some true on gameplay. Let's see, even if it's 5 minutes, gameplay, and you better actually give us gameplay, Xbox. I'm just saying, I don't want you telling us that it's gameplay and it's not gameplay. Let's see some gameplay.
Well, I think I obviously that was a big hubbub, if you were, the last time when we got the May event, and I think that they learned their lesson of exactly what gameplay means and what they're expecting. So they are going to show gameplay for 25 games. We're going to get some new announcements, and I think, like Joe said, we're going to have a bit of montages with the rest of the games, and that's great. It's going to be a big show. And I'm very much looking forward to it. But finally, Dreadpool, let's get your opinion on this before we get everyone out of here. As we close in on 500 people here, I want to please say this before we get to Dreadpool's opinion. If you're new to the program, and I've been getting a lot of new subs lately because people are finding the channel, and that's thanks to a lot of the community. You're pushing the content for me when I'm not doing it myself, and I do greatly appreciate that. If you are new and you enjoyed yourself, even if you had one topic that maybe wasn't for you, but the second one was, I do 4, sometimes 5 live shows. This week I did 5 live shows that equated to over 10 hours of live content. And that's every week. And it's all different. It's not, regurgitated. Even when we talk about another topic that we talked about on Monday, it is brought, different questions are asked. So if you're new, I want to say welcome with open arms. We love everyone in this community here at Double Barrel Gaming, and consider subscribing. And of course, if you are new, if you're not new and you're someone you've already been supporting the channel, before you get on out of here, please hit the like button. It does really help. And again, I'm not going to send you a bill in the mail that says, you owe me $5 for pressing the like button. It's free. So it does help me, and it would be greatly appreciated. But Dreadpool, this is, again, if you consider the quote-unquote show for Xbox, because I don't really count the roundtable as a show because they were just talking about the Bethesda deal. This is Microsoft's first show of 2021, technically, to show games, to show gameplay. I think this is going to be big for them. I think them teaming up with Twitch is even bigger, and I'm very excited to see what they bring to the table. I hope that we do get some games day and date of this show in Game Pass. I hope that we get some dates for some of the bigger games like The Ascent, like Stalker 2, and a few others that are like Second Extinction. I cannot wait to play that with people from the community. What are you expecting from this show on the 26th?
I have no expectations. That
That's
way,
good. That means you're going to be happy with no matter what they show.
exactly. Yeah, and that's like I say every time. I start fresh every show, everything. No expectations. Hope for the best. You know what I mean? And then when I do see something, I'll be excited or surprised. So I'm not disappointed if I don't see anything, but at least there's something that I could take away from it, and that's what will end up happening. Will be something that I did not see coming, and then I can be like, okay, here's my excitement, here's where my hype is, versus overhyping something and never seeing it, and then you're depressed. This isn't. I didn't get what I wanted, and obviously you weren't going to get what you wanted. I mean, I want Fable. Are they going to show Fable? Realistically, no. But there's certain things, certain aspects. So could they show Halo? I mean, there's so many different possibilities of what they can show in there, But if you don't expect anything and you just keep, your expectations in check, that you never know what will come about, because if you're so focused on that one game that you're expecting to see to get all that information, then something that was really exciting gets overlooked. Because you're too busy. Okay, move on with that. Get to the good stuff. Well, that was the good stuff. You just weren't paying attention.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's absolutely true.
I'm sorry, did you read the last two super chats? And
No, I'm going to get them before we get on out of here.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's it for me. Go ahead.
All right. Well, first of all, Arn Campero. Well, dude, first of all, thanks so much for being here, Arn. Definitely thank you for the super chat. But he has become a channel member. Thank you so much for that. Definitely appreciate that. Every little subscription, every sub helps for sure, and certainly every channel member helps. Obviously, much more than you guys know, especially a lot of the work that we do in the background, especially with the giveaways. We have two super chats came in before we get everyone out of here. Jesse Darby, a generous friend of the show, he drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, "Lethal Papa needs a raise." Boom. Indeed, he does. He works so freaking hard. It's crazy. And yes, we take care of Lethal. He again, the work that he does because of the love of this community. He does not like trolls. He does not take any shit. And we are all thankful that we have someone as dedicated as him in there. And obviously, it's why he gets a shout out every time, because you know what? It's funny. We had a conversation, and he thinks that I don't necessarily need him. I believe he is wrong when he says that, because, I think you scare a lot of the assholes away, Lethal, and I appreciate that. And Joshua drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, "I got an Xbox Series S. I'm so happy." Oh, congratulations, dude! Listen, these things. It's like trying to find a four-leaf clover. I cannot wait to get back to the days where folks can just go to the store and buy their PlayStation 5, buy their Series S, buy their Series X. I don't know when that's going to happen. I know that we've heard rumblings that we may not see any kind of normalcy with these consoles until maybe June, maybe July. But I mean, I will say this. There are two people that you should follow if you're still in the hunt for one of these consoles. Wario64 on Twitter is ridiculous. He is incredible, and he puts out links. And D-Batch, of course, of RDX fame. Not only is he a technical wizard, not guy's Mr. PC himself, but he's been helping a lot of people. Every time he sees where it's available, he's been putting it out onto his Twitter. So yeah, it's at Wario64. That's one for sure. Keep alerts on, keep the bell on. And D-Batch, head over there, and it's D_Batch on Twitter. Follow him also. He's been helping up a lot of people in regards to these consoles, and when they come in, they go literally right out. But let's get into the outros. Of course, I want to thank the near 500 people we had here today. Of course, I want to thank you for the super chats that continue to come in. It is extremely humbling, more than you understand, that you feel that you want to share your money with the channel and support Double Barrel Gaming that way. Again, I do this for the love of you. I do this for the love of the gaming community, as well as, of course, gaming itself. And I never expect anything. And that's why I'm always so surprised when people are so generous, and you have been for sure. But let's start with our guests. And first, Noof Nukem. I know you got to get on out of here. You got to get to work. Thanks so much for being here, brother. And we're going to get you back here in a couple of weeks. I think April 2nd or...
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, we're going to get you back here on April 2nd. Cannot wait for that. Tell everyone about Gaming After Dark, and more importantly, where could people reach out to you and strike up a conversation on social media?
You bet. Well, you can always find Noof Nukem in the gutter. It is Noof Nukem pretty much everywhere except on PlayStation. I'm Noof Nukem 76. My Twitch channel is Noof Nukem 76. That sort of stuff. So check me out there. Gaming After Dark, Tuesday nights, 10 Eastern, 8 Mountain Time, with one of Boomstick's panel members from Primetime Gaming, the one, the only middle-aged game guy, Titan Drago. We got some great guests lined up for you again this week. So looking forward to seeing some of you guys there. And for those who don't know, or if you're not quite familiar, because I really haven't made a big formal kind of announcement overall, but on the first week of May on a Sunday, I'm going to be starting up a new podcast with a completely different and new crew. It is going to be called Good Morning Xbox. And looking forward to that. It's going to be a fun time. And you're going to see a little more of a what you call in check version of Noof Nukem, a little less boom boom kaboom, and a little bit more just welcome everyone to the room, young, old. Just want to make a game show that's a podcast. I guess it's it'll be informational, fun, but obviously you don't have to get the kids to leave the room every time I come on the microphone, so that'll be decent. So yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. So good stuff, man. But thanks for having me here. Amazing panel today with Crispy, Mr. Bad Bit, Jamie Moran, always good to be here. Dreadpool, and yourself, Boom. Fantastic stuff. Great show, man. And a great chat.
No, definitely thank you for being here, Noof. Love when you're on the program for sure. Jamie Moran, brother, you're doing a lot on your channel. Got to get more subs over to you. You do great work and want to see you, get some even greater success. Tell everyone where they can reach out to you on social media, and more importantly, subscribe to your outstanding YouTube channel.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having us on. It's been an awesome panel again, and I love being on the show, man. I'm always wanting to come on, and my YouTube channel is The Elusive Gamer. It's just Xbox stuff, no fanboy stuff, and have a video coming out on Monday, which has taken like 9 hours to edit, which has been a pain. But yeah, that's The Elusive Gamer on YouTube, just Xbox stuff. My Twitter is JamieMan UK, and I'm a little bit salty right now because Gotham Knights just got delayed.
You know what? That was one of the games they were talking about. I'm not surprised. It's a big Batman co-op game where co-op is heavily involved. That doesn't surprise me with COVID. I think that we're going to see a lot of the big games potentially move into 2022, the same way we saw games move from 2020 to 2021. Yeah.
Bummer, dude. Jamie, I was right there with you, dude. I was so fucking amped for this game because I was like, no way, this one's getting delayed. They delayed Harry Potter, so this one's gonna come out this holiday, and
And there you go, Bruins. And you know what? Speaking of which, Joe, welcome. First of all, thanks so much for joining us. I'm really glad that you're feeling better. You definitely came in on a perfect timing when we're talking about the PlayStation VR. And of course, you added some great insight to the indie scene for what's going on at Microsoft. Tell everyone about the trophy room that you do with your best friend Kyle each and every week. And more importantly, where could people subscribe to your YouTube channel?
All right, let's see if I could do this with a migraine. Let's go. So you can find me over on the Trophy Room, a PlayStation show over on YouTube. You can find the podcast at PlayStation Podcast. And this week, we're joined by Kevin Diaz of PlayStation Source. It was a fantastic little conversations that we had about Jade Raymond joining or creating an independent studio and having a new PlayStation IP, what that means for PlayStation, yada, yada, yada. You all know the drill. And of course, like when we put out a podcast, there has to be Sony news immediately afterwards. So next week,
that's
you can
your
check
curse,
us out.
brother. That is your curse to bear. Yeah.
Sony just needs to go, here's a goddamn day. This is our day. We're putting out all the news. All right. Anyway, Shuei Yoshio follows us on Twitter. You should too, over at PS Trophy Room on Twitter. You can find the show also on your podcast feeds. How many times I get it? hey, thank you for putting this on Spotify. Thank you for putting this on Apple Podcasts. That's where the main show is, BB. So make sure you follow the trophy room there. And just like Jamie, it's no fanboy stuff. We love all of the consoles, man. Gaming's great when everybody games, you know? So yeah. There you go. That's all.
Well, thanks so much for being here, brother, and definitely take care of that migraine for sure. Next up, Crispy Bomb, brother. You know, obviously, you are our resident chainsaw toting fan of Gears of War. You play a lot of online, do a lot of community stuff on Xbox Live. Tell everyone, what are the shows you on, and more importantly, where can people reach out to you on social media?
Oh, always a pleasure, gentlemen. And the chat was fire as usual, getting up with the coffee, ready to roll. So, yeah, at Crispy Bomb on Twitter, Crispy Bomb 28, Xbox Live. You can find me on Retro Renegades Tuesday night, 7 p.m. You can find me on the next podcast, 8 p.m. Thursdays, and Breakfast with Boone, 10 a.m. Fridays.
Well, thank you so much for being here, brother. And we can't wait to hear what they're doing over on the next podcast. That's also another big pro Xbox channel if you're looking for it for sure. Last and in no way least, Dreadpool. First of all, thanks so much for joining us, brother. Glad that you were, you're feeling good. Tell everyone about what you got going on your channel, which of course is something everyone needs to tune in. It's called Breaking Bread with Dread. And more importantly, what else you got going on and where could people reach out to you on social media and strike up a conversation?
Oh, always. First and foremost, thank you all for showing up today. It was a pleasure seeing everybody in the chat, having a good time. Again, thank you, Elusive Gamer. Who was the other one? Noof.
No.
I always talk to Noof, so it's like I never think of him as a guest half the time when, So it's, yeah. Thanks, Noof, for showing up, too.
That's because they call me the closet camper. That's all it is.
Yeah. But when you hang out with everybody, you don't even think that sometimes they're a guest. You're just like, oh yeah, who else was what? So, but anyway, enough with the jokes. Great. I'm glad to see that Joe's feeling better. Yeah, you never know with.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
That
means
that
a lot.
stuff. It's just so much stuff going on with that.
Yeah, you know what it is? Real talk, just for everybody, a little PSA. If you've had Rona in the last 90 days, you're going to have a stronger reaction to the meds. So that's what it is. It's a bit of a stronger reaction. Yeah,
exactly. It's just, for whatever reason, it's a weird thing. But, hey, I'm glad you're feeling better. So, obviously, I'm glad to see Crispy, obviously, Boom, yada, yada, yada. Everything is a great day. This is going to be a great weekend. I hope everybody has a great weekend. You can find me on Twitter at Dreadpool. The O's are actually zeros. YouTube gamertag is Dreadpool, all letters, all caps. And then Breaking Bread with Dread. I am trying to work with the past TikTok person, with gaining some other TikTok people to interview. I am also looking at another person that I found out was in the area. So I'm going to try to work something with that person if I can get a hold of them. So we'll see what happens. Can't promise anything. But every week you can find me on Gaming Beyond the Box Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then right here, Friday mornings, 10 a.m. Either I'm already awake or...
On your way to being awake.
Exactly, waking up, right? So I got to tell you guys something, right? You guys know that I do the Four Guys with Quarters interviews with Clowns and Mav and all them.
Yes.
Did you guys know who I got to interview yesterday with the guys?
That was pretty dope, dude. Tell everyone about that, brother.
Cool,
yeah, that's
Steve
freaking
Downs, the voice of Master Chief.
I would not be able to do that. I would be freaking the fuck out.
I was fangirling. There, right? I was just like, I'm like, it was, it was great to meet you. Actually, I saw you. I didn't meet you, so you know what I mean? But after that, I kind of relaxed a little bit. I got him laughing a couple times, so that was great. It was just nice information. There's a few little things that kind of confirm that was out there, but you just have to read into it.
Yeah.
So and then make your own decisions, because I even asked him, just wink if I'm right about this, and he held his eyelids open. He's like, I'm not winking. So I don't know if that means something, that he's like, I'm not going to accidentally do something that is going to give it away. So I'm thinking it's like the reverse. psychology thing, but hey, you never know, right? So check it out. And then on top of that, he does have another one. I believe it is tomorrow, if I recall, and that is the voice of Pan Am.
Oh, wow.
So I may or may not be able to be there, but definitely check it out. Those guys are doing really good with those interviews.
Yeah,
And
Clowns is
I'm
the
just,
workhorse. The guy's doing
oh
some
yeah,
great job. It's a great thing. So if you're not subscribed to Four Guys with Quarters, what the hell are you waiting for? I mean, get over there. Tell him Boomstick sent you. He's doing big work. And the people he's been using, like Dreadpool, like Mav, like Pong Soul, and several others, just really, really have been incredible. So go definitely check out Four Guys with Quarters on YouTube. And folks, listen, this has been a great week for gaming. It's been a great week, even better week for Xbox gamers. And again, Sony had a couple of big big announcements. Obviously, the PlayStation VR talk, and then we saw the Jade Raymond talk. We're going to be talking about her new studio, Haven, this Monday on Primetime Gaming, as well as the some big talk from Jez Corden regarding what he has seen, what he knows, and a couple of big quotes from Phil Spencer regarding some third-party bangers that are going to be exclusive to Xbox, or whether they are exclusive, permanently or timed, is going to be a big part of the conversation. But listen, have a great weekend. Be safe, be smart, wear a mask, don't take chances. And more importantly, I want to close out the show with something that's important to me. Hopefully, one day it'll be important to you. And it's something that my dad taught us. And I think now, more than ever, we need more of this. And he said, son, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.